Today is Wednesday, March 27th, 2019. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor Edge of Extinction Week 6.
That's right. This episode was titled There's Always a Twist, and at least I think that was Joe. Did you have a list of different candidates? We don't get to see who says that.
That's as good a guess as any.
All right. Previously on Survivor, there wasn't one. Straight
That's
into
right.
it. Day 17. Come on in, guys. So they get their look at the Lesu and the Manu tribes.
I don't think they've ever done that before, have they?
And I don't know. and Ron is thrilled and not holding it back that Wendy's gone. And certainly War Dog takes note of that, and Probst asks him about it. It is clear there's still 8 and there's the original and the 4 original Manu. The tribe lines are strong, War Dog says.
I didn't think it was very smart to point that out. You know, well, there's only 4 of them and 8 of us.
In contrast to Ron's loud celebration that Wendy's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that it hurt War Dog in any way in that regard. Pretty clear what's going on there. Time for the merge. Drop your buffs and get these new red ones. What kind of red is that? I like that one.
I don't know. It's just red.
It's not, well, you've told me before they're different ones, though, right?
There's different shades of red. There's reds with orange tones and different tones.
That's got more of an orange tone, maybe?
I don't know. I really didn't pay that much attention.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I did see it,
really
but I didn't
popped.
pay that much attention.
Yeah.
It's a red buff.
Probst is all excited. He's pumping them up. He wants this to be an iconic moment in the history of the game. He was trying really hard to sell that, wasn't he?
I think he did.
Okay, well, that's when the Edge of Extinction folks return, and that's when we get what I think is Joe saying the title. There's always
Julia
a twist.
Julia really reacted when he said, "Come on in." She's like,
we got a lot of the for the camera kind of reactions.
Mm-hmm.
No, shut up. All that kind of stuff that people do when they're putting the drama on.
Wentworth said, "I knew it."
Of course you did.
You knew it?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Makes for good copy on the camera, though.
Well, and I did like that Jeff pointed out that every player had the opportunity to leave or stay for a chance to come back, and that everyone chose to stay.
I thought he did an excellent job of framing it in a way to say, please don't immediately dismiss these folks. They've earned it. And as we'll see, it appears to have an effect on at least one person in particular as we go through this. Okay, so we get a closer look at the challenge. They're going to have to, there's several obstacles, and there's one of those classic snake puzzle things where they've got to take like a pool ball, right? And they can control the balance, the left-right tilt of an arc of wood that the ball sits on, and move it along the shape of a snake as it looks like it's slithering back and forth.
Okay. I thought at first that, going over the ropes could be difficult. But the fact that they had to stop partway and untie back.
Right, they had the bamboo slats and the strings in it, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, okay, now that's just mean.
Yeah, so it started with they had to climb up. It was like a ladder that had no rungs. If the steps are called rungs, what are the other parts of the ladder called? I don't know.
The sides, I guess.
The rails, the sides, yeah. Yeah, from that part. So they had the sort of shimmy up that, and then there's a cargo net, but it's got huge
Yeah.
gaping. It's not cargo. It wouldn't hold cargo unless the cargo were like giant objects.
Big holes that you could fall through.
Easily a human could slide
That's
through.
why I thought, but they can maneuver across that with their hands and their feet. And
Right.
That won't be too bad. And then I realized, oh shoot.
Stop in the middle and untie the pieces you need
man.
to get through the gate. Yeah. So yeah, that was good. It was fun watching them do that part.
And nobody fell through.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Even little
definitely not.
Wendy. Okay. So they all got through that section.
I was really surprised that Aubry ended up being the first one to get her key. I wonder if Chris was letting everyone practice with the bamboo, because she blazed through that way faster than him, and he said he'd been practicing every morning.
Don't you think she's done it before?
I don't know that they've had that on one of her seasons. I'd have to go back and look. But she might have practiced it, because that would be a good skill to practice if you knew you were going out on Survivor.
Exactly.
Because certainly that turns up from time to time.
So
Anyway, so she was a lot faster, and she ends up getting onto the puzzle really quick.
Yep.
But Chris has got an extra disadvantage that Keith gave him, that before he can start his puzzle, that he's got to untie an extra 30 knots. But he seemed to make pretty short work of that.
Yeah. Though it did set him back.
It did, but not as far back as Keith, who was still back there, unable to tie the sticks together to
Like Keith, even with that.
retrieve the key to unlock the gate to go through. Yeah, so Keith was doing miserable. Although he ends up getting up there and working on the puzzle too. They all do. So
Yeah.
there's definitely some good drama on the puzzle. Aubry drops early, and then it's Wendy and Rick are facing off, and as they're getting closer to the top, everyone's in it. So
I totally thought Wendy had it. Even with her Tourette syndrome acting up, I thought she stayed steady. You thought that was going to affect her ability.
I did think, and I can't help but think that she would have been able to get through even faster, and it would have been less stress, because it was harder for her by far than for anyone else. Even Chris having to do the extra knots didn't have the same difficulty level as she did having to manage, but she was managing it really well, but she choked right at the top.
Well, but then so did Chris. Then I thought Chris had it.
Yeah, we thought Chris was for sure win, and then he ends up choking right at the top too, and that left the door open for Rick. And he eased his way up there, and he won his way back in the game, just like we were hoping.
Yeah.
Out of all them, he was our favorite pick to make it back. Yeah.
Well, did you hear him apologize to Chris? He said, "I'm really sorry."
Yeah, I didn't hear him apologize to anyone else. He was giving hugs to the others, but yeah, he definitely apologized to Chris. He felt bad taking that away from him, I guess, as good as he felt winning it his way back in.
I don't think he felt that bad, but
well, they've been commiserating a lot.
Well, I think he just wanted to commiserate with him.
Bonded over that for sure. Yeah.
Not enough to give it to him, for sure.
Yeah. Well, not enough to be silly about it. Yeah.
So, and then Jeff informs us Extinction begins again. And we all thought, you and I anyway, and I think the other players thought, oh, okay, well, then it starts over. These people are done. I was just sure they were done the way he said that.
Yeah, made you think that, right?
Yeah, and then he gave them the opportunity to say something. I thought, okay, so he gave them their shot to say their goodbye, their last words.
Uh-huh.
And Aubry was all teared up and very grateful
as the Merge
for
tribe
Survivor.
heads off to Manu Beach, we find out that's where the Merge tribe is going to be.
Yep.
So, during the last words kind of moment, too, just before that happened, Rick realized that he didn't have his stuff. So he had gotten to go over and get his Merge buff and sit with the new Merge tribe. But then he had to come back over to them one last time right in the midst of them and grab his stuff and then run off. As like Eric and the Merge tribe was waiting on him. Eric was turned around looking back, waiting for Rick. And yeah, that seemed like that was a really hard moment too. And then Probst hit him with the last words request, like you were saying.
Yeah, and Reem, she talked about it being a dream.
Hold on, I'll do it. Dude, man. Okay. That was my Reem impression.
That was terrible.
That's how she started her last words.
That's her thing.
I guess.
Everybody's dude and man. Mm-hmm. So, I lived during some of that too, so I still say dude. So,
Not
do.
like that, fortunately.
Well, sometimes I do. Okay, so Keith just got to talk about how I had to live moment by moment on Exile
And what?
or
How
Extinction.
proud he was that he didn't give up. But every time he's talked about that mast, he's talked about it longingly. He's talked about it like
It's
that
everything.
was, yeah.
It's food. It's a bed. It's
Yeah.
my way home.
Hold that
It's
thought.
everything to me. And then Wendy's like, well, she didn't really have to do anything. She just
No.
basically showed up and then went to a challenge the next morning. So was Edge of Extinction had been no big deal to her.
Right.
And
Chris got to share what it meant to him.
yeah, his lowest point and
Therapy.
that it was therapy. Yeah, he now understands he can't be perfect. But I bet you he's still going to try to be for a while because he's going to try to get back in.
At least for a day or two, he's going to hang on to the hope of that.
Yep. And then Probst drops the bomb. Okay, you have a decision to make. And Reem was like, for the love of God, Jeff.
Which sounded like a complaint.
Well, just that he had set them up for that, you know, to tweak their emotions around. I thought, well, that's what Jeff does.
Yep, he worked them.
But she's the only one that reacted that way. But okay, everybody chooses to go back. They all raise their hands, and you were disappointed
In that
they weren't
how they
questioned
executed
individually.
that. Right, that they didn't give it an opportunity to individually make a decision, because I think peer pressure played a part, and we'll come back to that. Let's go check out the merged tribe there on still on day 17 at
Alrighty.
Manu Beach. Julia tells us that she is thrilled. She's just full of joy that they've got the 8 comma majority, and especially the comma 6 are tight.
Yep.
And while they're having the feast, Rick's moving around the crowd just like everyone expected,
Yep.
touching in with folks, and he's getting questions and starts explaining how the Edge of Extinction worked.
Well, and Kelly is so not happy that he was the one that came back out of all of them.
Out of all the threats that you're dealing with in the game, I don't understand. This is where she went. She pulled a David Wright, and she
Yeah.
fixated on Rick as the target
Well-
instead of worrying about the bigger problem that she was facing.
I bet she'd have said the same thing if Chris had come back.
I don't doubt it. She seems practiced in some camera-ready kind of comments, so that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, she's given us a little
she knows
monologue.
Rick has an ability to get in with the others.
Yeah, and it's one that she understands she doesn't have, so she's threatened by that.
Well, and why would he want to trust you, Kelly?
Because he could be expedient about how to get himself further in the
Yeah,
game.
no. Not by the people who just voted him out.
Rick knows that he's in danger, and he's a likely easy vote right back out again.
He's got to make some human connections.
And he starts making that connection with Julie right away. She wanted to know, how did it feel?
And he let her know right up front, I'm a free agent now. Those people voted me off. I'm a free agent.
Turned me loose. Yep. So just like everyone expected, he was shopping around.
I was actually very surprised Julie liked him as much as she did right off the bat.
I was
She
at
seemed to-
first that I was like, why are you cheering for him? And then a little later comes the answer. So we'll come back. Yeah, she did respect him for the hero moment, she said.
Okay.
And that she liked him. But I think
So-
there's an even clearer reason that sort of fits with her.
Okay, now here's
MO.
your opportunity.
What's that?
Quick trip out to Edge of Extinction.
For the quit of Keith and Wendy. Because while Keith longingly referred to raising the mast there, he finally decided to call it quits. And I think that had they been challenged individually with this, he would have quit sooner. So this surprised me that they quit after coming back.
Yeah.
After going through that and then making that effort, and then...
then-
I wasn't surprised as much by Wendy, because I just don't think Wendy's
I was more
in-
surprised by
into
Wendy.
the game.
I thought it was Keith and Reem headed out to the boat.
Ah, yes.
And I thought,
think
wait, that's Wendy.
I think I probably initially guessed Reem too, because you couldn't tell for sure at the
Because
first
I
glance.
just thought they would go together. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, whoa, Wendy. I didn't see that coming. Though I guess she decided she was ready for a cheeseburger.
Well, they had both decided they had gotten everything they needed, which is exactly how to talk yourself out of the game when you're ready. So
Yeah.
they had met all their requirements.
Which means, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's code for I quit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just framing it in a different way
But
so
I
you don't
wasn't
look like a
surprised
quitter.
by Keith because I thought, but actually I thought he and Reem might both leave. So back to camp, Kelly and Lauren need to get some more connections themselves. We need to talk to Joe. Kelly seems so angry that she has to go talk to Joe again.
At his mercy, just like the last time when he was in the majority alliance. This is where I thought, because the way I imagined it going, I thought this was going to be the opportunity for original Manu, now Lesu, and basically the returning players to take control. We talked about this a little bit during the listener feedback show, but there's the potential for Lauren, Kelly, David, War Dog, Joe, Aurora, and now Rick, who's back, and that's who we were pulling for a return, to get a majority alliance against the Comma 6. And so this seemed like that could have been the moment. If Kelly could unite with Joe and they could bring an alliance together that would help the remaining returnees, this seemed like the time and the place right here. But that really wasn't what it was about. She was still wound up about having to make a sales pitch to Joe that she resented.
Yes, she resented it, and she was so fixated on getting Rick out, and that went right back to Rick via Julie, and there's no way would I align with her knowing she's already after me again. So that could no longer happen.
Yeah, so when the women huddle up, that's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah.
Julie tells Kelly and Lauren that she's open, and this was an exciting moment. I thought, okay, where are the ladies going to take this? What's going to happen with this?
I thought they're not.
And it was an immediate division, right? As soon as that came out of Lauren's mouth, that Rick's the safe vote, let's target him. And Julie tells us in a confessional while they're sharing the all-women huddle here that Julie's morally outraged. And that's your cue right there. That's why Julie, because she's morally outraged at the thought of them turning on Rick to send him back out there again. That's all
just
she needs.
Brutal behavior.
Yeah.
They're terrible people. Let's get them.
This from the group, the alliance that's been dogging Joe and Aubry. Yeah.
She has absolutely no incentive, zero zip, to work with Lauren or Kelly. None. They're in the majority.
It's a little ambiguous.
The comma versus the others that just joined them.
So you think the
And Rick, too, is with, as far as Julie's concerned, she has no incentive whatsoever to work with Lauren and Kelly.
Yep, Julie's certainly has a majority alliance that can control the outcome here if they play it right.
Yeah, and it does affect how they think when they don't have a need for people like Kelly and Lauren do. And they see it as desperate measures.
So the potential of an all-female alliance once again dissolves into the ether.
What I think that Kelly and Lauren could have done was just say, who do you guys want to get out? We'll go along with whatever you want. Who do you want? They could have started out that way.
Always a good strategy, but they had a pitch because they wanted the target off their own back. They wanted to be able to survive just a little bit longer, and they thought the best way to do that was to sell Rick down the river.
Yeah, well, they still could have later on, but, when you're first approaching someone. So that's my thinking anyway. Okay.
3-day challenge cycle this time. We're back there at Vata on day 18, and folks are working on extending the shelter out because there are a lot more people that have to huddle under there when the rains come. And Rick realizes that he has something in his personal bag.
I wonder when that was slipped in.
Yeah, it's not clear. I wonder if they collect their stuff when they're in transit. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case because you get that seems like the perfect time, right?
Maybe.
Because they're not allowed to talk to each other, and if they had to collect up their stuff and then they could put things in there, then it would just, that seems like procedurally the right place to do it. But that means that he took a while to figure that out.
Yep.
That would
before he saw it.
Yeah.
It's like, And that would be a terrible place to see it, right in the middle of everybody. And
Yeah,
like,
the way
wait,
that
something in my bag.
the way the edit worked, it made it look like, I think it was Lauren might have noticed him react or something, but I don't guess that was the case because we didn't get any hint of it later. So he scurries off down the trail and checks in his bag and finds out that he's got an advantage of a kind, but it doesn't take effect for at least until after the next tribal council. So it's an immunity idol that he has to give away to someone in step 1.
Half.
Yeah, he's got to give away half of it, and then they have to both make it through tribal council. And then afterwards, the two halves can be reunited to make a full idol.
But he has to be able to retrieve the other half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, David could refuse to give it to him, since we know he gives it to David. But I like it. He went right and told David. I assumed that's who he would give it to, but I did think, well, it might be another way to get in closer with Julie. But he trusted David, so I think that was his best shot.
Yeah, so they meet up that night there on night 18 and split the idol up, and then we'll see how it plays out as we head into this next part. So day 19, time for the community challenge. So it's an endurance challenge, which is often the case, almost always the case, in the first individual immunity challenge.
Yeah.
They've got to stand and balance on a narrow beam while holding a pole above their head and balancing a little statue on the end of the pole.
I really thought Joe was going to win this. I almost put him safe. I'm glad I didn't. Because I thought, well, just in case, because that would be kind of stupid to put him. And now I'm very glad I didn't put him safe.
You realize you just made a statement about everyone who had Joe safe, right?
What?
You said making that choice would be stupid.
Well, for me, I would. I can only speak for me.
Okay. All right, so they periodically, was it every 5 minutes, they're moving further down, the beam that they're standing on gets more and more narrow.
It was my head conversation. Yep. Man, did Ron even stay there for 2 seconds?
He pulled a crystal. Yeah, he pulled.
Oh, my gosh.
He definitely pulled a crystal. He was out super quick. I think he probably just threw that.
I think he doesn't want to be seen as any kind of threat. He didn't feel like he needed it at all.
The flip side.
Why even bother?
The flip side of that, though, is that you're putting the burden of beating someone that you're targeting on another member of your alliance. So you don't want to be overt like that. You don't want to necessarily be throwing things away and making the other person in your alliance be responsible for ensuring that you can vote out whoever it is you're targeting.
No, but I don't think anybody thought he was throwing it.
I don't know, when you go that quick, and Gavin didn't make it a whole lot longer, so he didn't make it to the first transition, and then at the first transition after 5 minutes, War Dog's not able to move down to the next section of the narrow beam.
So there's another thing he can't do.
He kind of disappeared this episode, though, huh?
Yeah, he did.
It's not a factor at all.
And I had him going home.
Went purple.
Silly me. I was like, oh, man, he's not even being mentioned. I thought he would go in and start talking to people and annoy everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's reason to think that, I guess.
Because I thought, I don't know who's going home, but he's a good bet for annoyance factor, so I'll just go with him.
All right, Rick goes next, then Victoria's out, then Aurora. So there's 7 left at this point. So at 10 minutes, they move to the next stage.
After 5 minutes. The second transition, second transition now goes for 10 minutes. And then Kelly goes out during that section. And then they have to move all the way to the end. And Eric, Julie, and David can't make the transition.
Right. Boom, boom, boom.
So there's only Julie, Joe, and Lauren to fight it out. And little Joey Amazing had a blip.
Yeah, he dropped.
It's like, whoa, did you lose focus?
He definitely looked like he lost his focus. Yeah. So to my surprise, it's Julie facing off against Lauren there at the very end.
I wasn't surprised that Lauren was there, but Julie surprised me.
Julie is my point exactly, is who surprised me the most. And she ends up winning individual immunity. So go
Well,
Julie.
and even beforehand, they were all David and those guys. She's got some guns on her.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, David probably envied Julie's guns.
Possibly, yeah.
David and Ron.
There's a good chance.
There was David trying to bond with Ron a little bit there.
Good chance that she could bench more than David, I think. The individual immunity necklace is actually bigger than Julie, though. It won't fit on her shoulders. It slides down. So it's wider than her shoulders.
That's true. She had an off-the-shoulder necklace.
Uh-huh.
So, but good on Julie.
Wentworth tells us that she thinks everyone appears to be on board with the Rick vote out, so they did a good job, I guess, of at least conning her. Not that that's necessarily that difficult, but she also knows that she may end up having to play her idol because you never know.
Let's go back to Vata.
Still day 19 after the challenge. Julie tells Victoria that she is most interested in getting Kelly out. And this is where Julie informs Rick that your tribe is targeting you. And it's interesting how she presented it. She said, we're not going to give you and David the details, but we'll tell you how things are going and you guys are safe. What'd you think about that?
I thought that could have been a mistake. That, to me, is kind of, I don't know, I didn't appreciate it.
But if you're Sandra Diaz Twine and you got the, hey, not me approach to the game, that'll work.
Well,
you can definitely roll with that.
Of course it'll work, and he would roll with it. I don't think it's in her best interest to take that attitude the way she did. I mean, you could still say, not everyone trusts you as much as I do, or whatever. So, they don't want me to say until, right at the last moment.
I think I said Rick gave his half the idol to David on night 18, but it was actually right here that he ends up giving him the half to hold.
Well, I thought he gave it to him then. So I guess you did too, but he didn't.
No.
Guess he still had it.
Yeah, so War Dog somehow is all of a sudden motivated to go off and hunt chickens. This was surprising. I guess this was my second War Dog surprising moment. He's actually going out to do something. So a group of them get off to go hunt those chickens there at Manu Beach.
And he's going to go be helpful and get food because he doesn't want to be the vote off.
Or he's hungry.
Yeah.
Again. Merge feast is worn off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ron cozies up to Joe for a quick discussion while they're off hunting the chickens, and he didn't feel like Joe showed him the proper respect. He tells us that Joe brushed me aside, and I
didn't think he did.
Now Ron is motivated to take Joe out.
I thought Joe just said, "Hey, Ron, go check on those people to make sure that they're not after us."
Well, if you're Ron and you're in control in the majority alliance, then someone giving you instructions, that's brushing you off.
Okay.
So Ron runs right to Victoria and says, hey, let's get rid of Joe. He annoyed me.
Well, he said, we can't pass up this opportunity.
He sold it
right. And
right.
I don't disagree with that.
Absolutely.
I didn't want Joe to go yet, but I appreciate that they think that, because I would, if I were playing, I would say, if he loses any time, this is your opportunity. He may not lose another one. You don't know. Why give him that opportunity? It's like everybody else will keep.
So Victoria and Eric and Gavin huddle up and start discussing the potential pivot over to a Joe vote.
Well, Victoria tells them that Ron wants Joe, but that she'd really rather have Wentworth.
Yeah, so they've got three options that they end up discussing, right? So they've got Kelly, Rick, and Joe as potential targets.
Yeah, and Julie doesn't hesitate to speak up, so she must be pretty confident in her alliance, because she nor Victoria hesitate to speak up, but especially Julie.
Yeah, when she's talking with Gavin and Eric and Ron. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they're trying to get consensus.
Yeah, because she thinks it's too soon for Joe.
That has to be unnerving.
Yep.
Well, and she's again, recall, she's morally outraged, and her goal is to punish Kelly for targeting Rick.
Well, but she says it's really important for them to get the first vote out right.
Yep.
So, okay, fine.
Time for tribal council here on night 19, and we find out we have a jury.
And the jury's coming in.
Yeah.
Jury?
So, another surprise. So Reem, Chris, and Aubry are automatically on the jury. So, which I guess everyone voted out. Well, the jury has started.
Yes.
And we therefore
first 3 jury members have started.
We will not be able to award a first on jury bonus because there's it's not clear at all.
No going back. And besides, we don't know who may quit when, so that's just off the table this season.
Although I'll be surprised if anyone quits. And this had to be if they didn't know, I wonder if they kept it a secret from Keith and Wendy, the other castmates.
Yeah, I don't think they told them.
So
why do you get to know?
Tonight they found out that they were that close to being on the jury.
Being on the jury.
And they could have had that as part of their survivor experience.
Would they have stayed? Would Wendy and Keith have stayed if they had been told they were going to be on the jury now?
I would think so, but you're talking about people who also chose to quit.
I don't know if Keith would, but I thought Wendy might, but then I don't know.
Yeah, it puts an interesting twist on things. So now someone that got voted out first has made survivor history and has become a member of
isn't that interesting?
Of the jury. And so now you're managing from day one.
Now Reem has made survivor history.
And you're managing from day one those people where typically at the merge you get to just sort of discount everyone that got voted out before, but now they're members of the jury. So
well, here what I was thinking before about Reem. It would be really hard for her to quit at this point, being on the jury. And how do you justify that to your family? And because having said such a big fan, and doing a lot of this for her family, and how would you justify leaving if you're on the jury?
Yeah, it seemed like it'd make it harder for sure.
And there's so much more you get to be a part of it. You don't have to just sit out there. I mean, you still have to be on Edge of Extinction, but at least there's more going on that they get to go to Tribal and see what's happening in the game. So it does make it more interesting for them, I'm sure.
So Probe starts hitting them with questions. Julie's excited because she got to meet new people, and Ron's all about the Yalla buff. Yalla.
Yeah. And Rick says, I'd never met any of the original Kama people.
Right.
So he had a lot of people to meet and greet.
In contrast to Ron emphasizing Kama strong, you get Kelly saying, there are new relationships forming. So
were you surprised to hear Victoria say outright in Tribal Council that it would be cruel to send Rick right back to Edge of Exile?
Yeah, it seemed
especially when there's other targets.
She was sending a really clear message, and of course that threw Joe off. So he said that he had alarms going off, and Victoria tried to cover for that and saying, well, there are other things that are
other kinds of threats, Joe, other than physical.
Yeah, so she kind of blundered.
Yeah, she did, but I thought she covered it okay, but it obviously set off Joe's alarms, as well it should have.
Ron's super confident. He seems to have crossed over into overconfidence at this point, stating that as far as he's concerned, he can't tell there are no idols in the game this season.
So, Ron. So what was Rick's goal for saying Joe was totally comfortable? He did nothing today but paint and relax. Do you think that helped Rick in any way to point that out?
In terms of answering Prope's question about how things were back at camp, well, he's just saying it was pretty clear there's certain people who didn't have a worry at all. They weren't concerned in the least about being voted out.
Well, Ron flat out said that.
Didn't want to talk about it.
Hey, if you're in the majority, you can relax. Mm-hmm. We were relaxed.
We have the power. Yes,
okay,
yes,
that's a little
fond
bit,
of saying.
little bit arrogant crossing over there.
Wentworth, I'm always on the bottom. Wah. Okay.
And yet she did not play her idol.
I was surprised. I was surprised once again.
Well, she must have known something.
I don't know.
Suspected,
given the way the votes went, I don't think she did.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so no idols ended up being played.
Are you kidding me?
Lauren seems very tested by this each time. She just maybe they're just doing a good job in the edit of getting reactions from her, and they're from different times. But she seems to be struggling with that decision not to play it each time. So,
I would hope so.
The votes come in. So we've got Rick getting votes, Kelly, David pops in.
Yeah, 3 votes on David.
Hadn't been discussed. And then Joe starts getting votes, at which point, given that they held him to show up, you got a pretty good idea at that point. Uh-oh.
2 for Devin, 3 for David, 2 for Kelly, and then Joe.
6 for Joe, although it only took 5 to send him out.
But the comma 6 voted for Joe.
Yes.
Rick and David voted for Kelly, and Aurora and Joe voted for Rick. So I think they still thought Kelly, Dan, and Lauren were going after Rick.
Probably.
So, but their votes went to Rick. And Dan, Lauren, and Kelly stuck together and voted for David. I thought, what?
Yeah, that seemed a little bizarre, but
went well. Alliance?
Went super well for the comma 6 in that regard. Joe's voted out. Probst informs us that he becomes the 4th member of the jury, and he's off to his test, his little question. It's a no-brainer for Joe. He's going to go to Edge of Extinction. I wonder if you didn't go, would you still get to be part of the jury?
If you didn't go the Edge of Extinction?
Yeah, because he said he was part of the jury. Yeah, he said he was the 4th member of the jury before he had to make his choice. So, yeah, I guess I answered my own question. So you could actually go to the Ponderosa and not be on Edge of Extinction at this point. Okay.
Maybe. Okay, Joe says that is the worst thing they could have done, and they left the door wide open. He takes his torch and heads for the boat, though he said, he's trying to keep his emotions together. So it's really hitting him. So I don't think...
Has been the whole season.
I don't think he went into tribal council thinking that he was going. I really don't.
No. Yeah.
No. I really think he thought... I think Ron did a good job of convincing him he was safe. Mm-hmm. And that's why he felt as hurt as he appeared to.
Just as hard as they pulled it on Aubry, they pulled it on Joe.
Yeah. And that Victoria's the one that clued him in.
To their credit.
So she slipped in this one.
He just didn't have anything.
With Aubry,
he didn't have any way to save himself at that point.
No. What do you do? It's tribal.
Yeah.
If they've decided, they've decided.
If you don't have an idol, then you got no recourse at that point. Had it been Kelly or Lauren, they could have saved themselves. But not Joey Amazing, not this time. Of course, Chris is bummed.
Oh, yeah. Well, but he's
not to mention that he just got beat by Rick, but on top of that, now Joey Amazing is going to show up. I know that
this is a dream come true. He gets to go up against Joe, and if he can beat him,
right?
Hey,
some redemption.
Gavin's.
So, what did you think about the overall episode?
Happy. Oh, well, it was good. I mean, I'm not happy to see Joe.
Oh, that's right. You're really bummed about the Joe leaving. Yeah.
Well, I am, but I'm not devastated. But yeah, I wasn't looking forward to Joe going. I would have rather seen someone else. But I think they made a smart move. It was a good gameplay.
Solid gameplay.
Solid episode.
It's just that they're letting their mouth get away from them a little bit.
Yeah,
and speaking too overconfidently, in particular Ron.
Yeah, I thought so too. That they're just starting to get a little bit cocky with it. And when people do that on Survivor, sometimes that just turns around and bites them. Mm-hmm. So, now Joe mentioned that the merge flag was a phoenix.
Yeah. In keeping with, one of the tribe immunities was a phoenix.
Yeah, well, and he said you gotta die to be reborn again this season. So I'm sure that's why they chose the phoenix to go on the flag, because Joe painted the flag.
Right.
That's what he was doing all day painting, was doing the flag there.
Yeah, I guess what I was saying, it wasn't terribly original. That was part of the theme that had already been given.
It wasn't original, maybe, but it was good. I liked
it's
the
good,
symbol.
and certainly he latched on to the Rise from the Ashes theme. That's exactly what he'll need to do at this point.
Absolutely.
Next time on Survivor, Ron tells us that he is the puppet master.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to break down
And we're
someone,
assuming the girls, since they showed a
visually
picture.
they cut to Lauren and Kelly, yeah.
Yeah. And
That's a strange exchange between David and Rick, huh?
David and Rick.
Yeah,
Oh,
David says
I was
one
still
of
up.
us is...
You didn't say about Eric saying that the others have zero power.
Yeah, I didn't think there was much significance in that.
Okay.
The more significant part was Ron declaring himself the puppet master.
Okay.
Yeah, and David and Rick are talking, and David says, one of us is drunk right now. Although you just see the back of David's head when he's saying that. So it could be some other time. Sometimes they trick us with these. And then it cuts to Rick, and you see him saying, you're getting played.
Yep. And then David says, I have to find another path to day 39.
So they want us to think that there's some discord between the two of them.
I'm thinking David realizes that the other three Lesu members voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's saying, I have to find another path. I think that's what he's saying.
That's the cause for that, the catalyst.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I think it's just kind of, pieced together to make us think he and Rick are not.
Why would David be
sync.
saying one of us is drunk right now? I mean, there's often extra wine left over from the merge feast, and I suppose that Rick could be partaking.
Well, or he could have come up with an idea that David thinks, well, you must be drunk if you think that.
Yeah.
So it could be anything.
Someone's clearly in David's head for Rick to say that, though. You're getting played.
Yep.
Okay, and then something we never want to see at looks like the immunity challenge next week. There's a call for medical because you see Dr. Joe come in.
Yep. The endurance challenge where they have to balance, they have to hold their head. There's a block between their head and the board above.
A frame above
And they're
them.
standing in a wood frame.
Yep.
And somebody crashes.
And it's not Victoria because you see Victoria saying, what
happened?
Yeah.
And Dr. Joe says, can you hear me?
So, yeah, definitely didn't want to see that. It was nice to get to see the votes. I was happy that they showed the votes after the next time on Survivor.
Me too, because we really wanted to know.
Yeah.
We were like, whoa, wait a minute. Who voted for who? And so now they can go back to it because we do need to know now, especially that vote.
How about a JSFL update?
All right. Josh from Netherlands, which is, I think he's in Amsterdam, is in first place alone with 29 points.
Nice.
That's a first for this season.
Yeah.
Congrats, Josh.
Good job.
25 people lost their USB 24.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people were hoping for Joey to win it all. It's not completely done.
67 people lost a safe point. 92 people, congrats, earned a vote-off point for Joe. We were neither one of those people. Okay, for the side challengers, with 28 points in first place is Stacy. With 26 points, Jay Kindred. 25 points, we have Brandon, Colt, Mike, Jack, Jeremiah, Jonathan, and Randy. With 24, we have James and Shannon and Slappy. With 23, we have Drew, Iron Dave, and Parker. And with 22, we have Brad.
All right, Brad. Good job.
He's only 1 point behind the other three.
Uh-huh. Even
And two behind
given
two more.
Iron Dave's blunder, huh? Okay. That's the best example of bold playing I've ever seen.
That's true. I actually had to go check the website. I was like, wait a minute, how can that be?
Uh-huh.
Dave didn't get any points this week. What happened?
My goodness.
So I had to go check that out, Dave.
Yeah.
So, He had those people safe. I was thinking, oh, that's how you get no points. Okay.
That was surely bold.
That was bold.
It's like bold plus plus. Next gen bold.
Okay. Okay, so the big announcement this week is that next week will be your only opportunity this season to choose a new USB.
It is upon us.
If your USB is still playing the game, then you decide they don't have a chance of winning.
I don't want those 24 points. I'll never win those.
You can switch to someone different for a possible 10-point bonus. However, make sure, once again, you do not change that and then try to change it back, because you will still be for the same points. It will not be for 24 points. It will still be for a possible 10 points.
You make that decision even once, and it's a trap door.
This
You're
is
done.
the one place you cannot go back.
Can't undo that. So make
yeah.
up your mind clearly. Yeah.
And if you've already lost your USB, then you can choose to, or you can pick a new one for a possible 5-point bonus.
Right. You can still get some points out of this.
I don't intend to change from Eric. I mean,
what do you think his chances are right now? Is he still in the
I
running?
have no clue.
I think he's in the running. I think Victoria's in the running.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of the girls band together at some point and get rid of the true threats. And
well, you got to think Eric and Gavin will be
they're
a
going to
little
be targets
concerned. They'll
at
be
some
on
point.
They'll be on guard right now to see how
Yeah.
this next step works. But there should be clear and easy targets with Dan and David and Kelly and Lauren there.
Yeah. Well, and if I were Aurora, I'd be scrambling too, because she wasn't in on the vote.
We'll run the numbers now. So you've got (6) plus potentially Rick, right? Even though they didn't let him in. That's where I think Julie might have made a fatal mistake, saying, I'm not going to let you know all the details. They didn't let him feel like he was a part. They just left him at the bottom, so they left him at 7.
Yeah, you're at the bottom of us.
Right. So that was a pretty clear message. Now, Lauren and Kelly have idols. Rick has an idol, assuming David gives the half back.
Yeah.
Right? So there's 3 idols they're in control of. If David can stay with them, if, War Dog stays with them, and Rick, they're at 6-6 with 3 idols.
If Aurora goes with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's got every reason to at this point.
Yeah, she does.
She is essentially just as betrayed. So she's always been described as on the outside of that group and with Joe and Aubry. So that was a betrayal of her too. So there could be 6-6 with idols to work.
It really depends on what they told her. I mean, it's possible they could have told her they were voting Joe, and she kept it quiet and tried to go with somebody else with Joe because she wanted to stay with him.
You don't think she would have tried to rescue Joe and mount a counter
I
attack?
would think she would have.
Yeah,
but,
I think she would have. She
but
seems
maybe
very principled.
not. Maybe not. I don't know. But I guess it just depends on how much they kept her apart from the 6 group. And if they all blatantly lied to her or they just didn't
I imagine we'll find out something in
volunteer.
the extra videos, given
Yeah.
what her reaction is, right?
That'll be good to watch.
Yeah, so we'll be looking to see what, if anything, Aurora tells us in her extra videos. Because if you go 6-6 and you've got idols, not only do you have one idol, but you got 3, you've got enough power to take the 6 down.
Yes, you do.
Question, though, who do you think's the medical?
Wow.
Take a look at everybody up there. Who's going to go out on a medical? Who's had problems?
Lauren?
Yeah.
Does she faint,
Could be.
you think?
She certainly described having blackouts before. Whoever it
She did
is,
say that, but she had some food, but there may be more going on.
we don't know. We don't know for sure
Yeah.
that she was actually able to eat or not.
Well, they didn't highlight that she wasn't.
Right? Could be because of
They
what's
just
coming.
didn't tell us either way.
Yeah.
But
And
that's a possibility.
I would suspect she certainly tried to eat. The big question is, was she able to keep any of it down? Who was it? Holly sent us the note yesterday saying she thought that Lauren's got a parasite, given that she couldn't even handle white rice.
Yeah, that
So
white
there's
rice should not upset her tummy.
Something more significant going on with Lauren. So that seems like the most likely candidate, right? Whoever it is, they're not standing close to Victoria because Victoria couldn't see them. Now, you can't move your head when you got the block balanced on top of your head and you're on your tippy toes pushing up to push the block into the door frame to sort of lock it in place.
Well, you can't turn your head because you take the risk of, dropping the block. So,
right.
Yeah,
so
no.
my point being that it's someone that's not standing near her. So we'll have to go back and look and see if Lauren's near her at all, if we can tell in the challenge.
Or we can wait till next week and see what happens. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the first person I would think of. Mm-hmm. Just given that. But anyone, we know even Joe passed out in a prior season when it just got too hot during an endurance challenge.
Yep.
So it could be anyone.
Good deal. So overall, you enjoyed the episode? You're just bummed a little about the Joe thing?
No, I'm not really bummed.
It's good Survivor gameplay. It's exciting.
I kind of like the excitement of Joe sitting out there and carrying that grudge and just can't wait to get back in there.
Yeah.
Stewing on it. Watch Joey go.
All right.
So.
Well, we've done our part. We've done the recap, painted the broad strokes, covered the highlights. Now we're going to turn it over to you on Saturdays. We have our listener feedback show. That's where we turn the show over to you, the super fans, get your predictions, your analysis. Maybe there's something significant you thought we missed, you wanted to comment on. We give you 3 minutes every week. You can write it up and send it in an email, or you can record it. We've got the voicemail line, 206-350-1547. Toll free, 844-643-8737. The email's Joanne and Stacy Show at gmail.com. You can always find that at getsfp.com. All that's listed there, as well as a set of starter questions. Who do you think's playing best? Who's going to be next to go? Just a little bit to get the juices flowing to help you get started on taking part in the listener feedback shows. So those are always there in the show notes, and that'll be there in the recap episode. You just have to click on the little read more section to see all the details.
I have a question for you before we close.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel if Rick and Aurora joined the Lasso 4 and they used an idol to pop somebody in the comma 6?
I think that would be super exciting. I would love to see that. I don't see that kind of gameplay because David and Kelly are playing so paranoid.
Yeah.
It seems so unlikely that they would be able to do that. Like, I was really hoping they were going to be able to pull a 7 versus 6 along those same lines, that they were going to recognize that. But they can't. They're so blinded with their paranoia that they're having trouble functioning at a higher strategic level. But I think that would be ideal. I would love to see, Ron get blasted. I always turn on people when they get super cocky in the game. It's like, if you're a fan, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't get overconfident. You shouldn't start spouting off against other people. Mm-hmm. And Ron's crossed over into that territory.
So could that be what David and Rick are discussing, is David trying to get Rick to join that group with Aurora and get control, and Rick going, "You're being played, dude. All 3 of them voted for you."
Yeah, that's potentially likely. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to pull something like that together, although that's ideal. That would be their best path forward, and we get to say that sitting on the love seat here.
I don't think it would be Rick's best path. I don't know if there is a good path, because the 6 is so tight.
I think Rick's best path, given what his experience has been, is that he's got to trade off. He's got to go one way in one cycle, and he goes another way in another cycle. Mm-hmm. And what he's done, he's just carving them off. Carving. Yeah. Right? Until it gets down till he can make his way there. He doesn't have a strong way in with anyone, so he's got to keep being the free agent, and he's got to keep spinning it that way. It's like, well, you did this, and well, you won't let me in, you put me down at the bottom, so I'm going to go here. But hey, I'm always open. The door's open for business here. So that's what I think his path is to shuffle.
If he helped,
or flip flop, as it's also called in a negative way.
If he helped the Lesu group get rid of a comma 6, then you're saying the following week he might help the comma 5 get rid of one of the Lesu.
Yeah, and be like, oh yeah, let's get rid of Wentworth.
Because he does need to get rid of the people that want him out, like Kelly. Lauren Wardog. He has to, wherever he ends up, he has to be in with the group that he has a chance with.
Right.
But that's so risky playing that way. And
where's the guy been? He's already been voted out. So go for it.
I don't know that he has any choice, really.
Yeah, I think that's the best path for him, and we're excited to hear what you think the best path is for your favorite castaway. So you got an idea for how Rick wins it, or you're a huge Victoria, or there's a lot of Ron fans. How do you think, what's best for him? How's he going to be able to keep the 6 together and fight off these threats going forward?
Here's what I want to know. Does Paul stay with Victoria or not?
Yep. Hopefully we'll hear more about that on Saturday in the listener feedback show. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right. Have a good one.